The Podcasting Dead is available on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, and SoundCloud. Make sure to subscribe for more podcasts. And while you're at it, drop us a like. If you want to help support the channel and have access to extra content, secret contests, and more, make sure to search for us on Patreon. Patreon.com/thepodcastingdead.
Welcome to Weird Wednesday, where we talk about weird stuff on a Wednesday. I'm Justin.
I'm JP.
And we're the Podcasting Dead. We podcast about a wide range of things, from The Walking Dead to simple conversation to the weird things happening here on Earth. But so today we're talking about a German super weapon. There's a lot of lore around the Nazis, right? There's a lot of speculation. I mean, we know that they experimented with some wild weapons. I mean, Hitler had that big artillery gun that was like the size of a building, so we know that Hitler was really, I've seen like drawings of Hitler's proposed super tanks, which were like something out of Star Wars. They would drop open and let out other tanks, so we know that the Nazis were all about super weapons.
I mean, from what I understand, they were ahead of us technologically up until we developed the A-bomb, and then they just kind of shit the bed. But
oh, yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, you've got a lot of interest from the Germans during World War II at creating these larger-than-life super weapons. Well, JP, there seems to be one that is now somewhat being dismissed as a hoax, but we're still going to discuss it, and that's called, do you know the proper pronunciation?
I'm not even going to try it, man. I'm not going to try it. It's a tough one.
It looks like you'd call it Die Glocke, which is it's also known as the German Bell.
Yeah.
And this weapon there's no real proof of the weapon other than speculation and firsthand accounts. But if it was real, some have said through the years the Nazis have had extraterrestrial contact, and to which I don't know that I believe, because I feel like if they did, they would have definitely won the war. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't mean they might not have found something,
Yeah, I've heard they found crashed UFOs. They reverse engineered certain things. I've also heard accounts that they were experimenting with DMT and communicating with entities, interdimensional entities that were giving them access to technology and just intelligence beyond our comprehension. So there's a lot of weird stuff, and everyone knows Hitler was obsessed with the occult, so people think that he was out there searching for artifacts, and maybe he found some long-forgotten technology or some UFO that crashed back who knows when. So, well,
now we'll get to this in a second. Real quick, I do want to correct myself. I had the name, Gustav. It was the, and I can't really pronounce the first part of it, but Gustav is a giant, I said artillery gun. It's people know it as a giant rail gun, but it was that, you had to destroy it in the game Medal of Honor, but it was just this giant rail gun that was just larger than life, man. But didn't you, there are some conspiracy theorists that think that the Nazis led expeditions to Antarctica, just when you were talking about looking for ancient relics and stuff, right?
Yeah, that's right. A lot of people think that there's still Nazi bases and stuff in Antarctica. A lot of people even claim that's where Hitler fled after he faked his death and went on the lam.
Interesting.
So, yeah, it's pretty wild, man. And a lot of people think that Antarctica holds secrets, with our ancient past, extraterrestrial presence that, we have either yet to be uncovered or that they won't let us know about. So.
Now, see, all right. So, according to the Wikipedia page, the Nazi bell, the German bell, whatever you want to call it, was first described by Polish journalist and author Igor Wikowski, and was later popularized by a military journalist and author Nick Cook, who associated with Nazi occultism, anti-gravity, and free energy research. Mainstream reviewers have criticized claims about Die Glocke as being pseudoscientific or recycled rumors and a hoax. The Nazi bell and other alleged German miracle weapons have been dramatized in video games, TV, novels, and things like that. But I don't know, man. I mean, I've read accounts where this bell would go all it was like oscillating chemicals or something, and just melted the insides of people within a certain radius. You could drop this in the middle of a battlefield or the middle of an enemy camp or whatnot, just drop it in the middle of the enemies and set it off, and this thing would basically just destroy anything within like a couple 100-foot radius.
Jeez, man. Yeah.
What do you think the chances are? You've read a little bit on it. What do you think the chances are that this is just exaggerated and just folklore associated with the war? I mean, the Nazis really were kind of like larger-than-life supervillains. So, I mean, do you think it's possible that it's just completely fabricated?
Well, it's a matter of record. Operation Paperclip, after the war, the U.S. gave amnesty to all these German scientists and got a hold of all these Nazi secrets and technology. And I think it's absolutely possible that our own government would cover up a device like this because they basically got it after the war and resumed development of it. So if they have something like the Nazi Bell, which, like you said, people think could be like just a weapon of mass destruction like we've never seen, or a part of their anti-gravity, development where they're making basically flying saucers, and even with time travel. So if the U.S. absorbed this technology and or develop it themselves, I absolutely think they would cover it up and make it seem like just an urban legend sort of thing.
Now, see, why do we think they would cover that up, though, but then turn around and drop an A-bomb, which was absolutely just totally devastating?
Yeah, I mean, that's the question, I mean, obviously they needed some big exclamation mark just to end the war. So I think the A-bomb was definitely their swan song with that. But as far as if they had something that was just that out of this world that they want to keep under wraps, I think the Nazi Bell might be the one they would keep kind of hush-hush.
Well, I asked that about the A-bomb because there's another reason why if they found it, they would want to keep it hush-hush. And again, I'm speaking hypothetically here. If you're not familiar with the podcast, I'm usually the one who quickly dismisses most hoaxes. We don't want you to think we're out here trying to spread misinformation. We're discussing possibilities. I mean, that's the joy of having the human brain, is just to being able to explore and wonder and think and talk. So that's what we're doing. We're not trying to convince you whether it's real or it's not real. We're just talking about it. However, one reason why, if it were real, the government would hide it and not show their hand, such as the way they did with the A-bomb, is the fact that, well, it was some kind of time machine.
Yeah, I've heard that as well.
It had some kind of concave mirror-like sighting, and it said it could warp space and time. So if it were a time machine, absolutely, they would keep it under wraps.
Yeah, it kind of makes you wonder, like, Hitler talked about wanting to have, like a 1,000-year Reich. Maybe his end goal was to travel 1,000 years in the future if he lost and start his Reich, in the year 3000 or 2000, whatever the math would calculate to. Oh, yeah.
Well, apparently, Wazowski was apparently contacted in 1997 by an unnamed Polish intelligence agent who let him read the transcript of post-war interviews with war criminal and Nazi SS officer Jacob Sporenberg. Sporenberg unsuccessfully tried to stave off his execution with tales of top-secret Nazi weapons programs that he'd been involved with. He told his interviewers of a mysterious high-tech machine that was called the Bell and was capable of vortex compression and magnetic field separation. Wazowski wrote it all up in an obscure Polish language book. It's called basically The Truth About the Wonder Weapon, and it was pretty much ignored. And so you got to look at it from both sides here. I mean, definitely stands to reason that when you're facing your impending doom at the enemy's hands, that you would make up something to keep you alive. Hey, don't kill me because I've got all kinds of information about wonder weapons, anything to buy yourself more time, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, these the Nazi scientists would have been, executed. Who knows what would have happened to them?
I imagine they were hanged. A lot of them were hanged. I mean, they had those trials in Jerusalem, and a lot of the top officials were hanged. The ones that part of me, one conspiracy I do buy into. I don't really get into a lot of conspiracy theories. One that I do get into, though, is the possibility that I think I read a book called Grey Wolf. I think might be it's been a long time, but it was basically talking about how Hitler and some of his top people actually escaped and went to Argentina.
Yeah,
that he didn't kill himself. That's just kind of what we have taught because I mean his dental records were identified by not even his dentist, like a dental assistant who looked at his teeth and were like, yeah, it looked like Hitler's teeth. I mean that's so yeah, I don't know, man. But then I feel like you can't just dismiss everything out the gate. Mm-hmm. I mean, this guy was a scientist. He did know what he was talking about. I mean, he knows more than we do. He's a smart guy. And I just I'm kind of divided. Like, do I feel that he was just trying to buy himself more time, or do I feel that, well, let me back up. Either way, he was trying to buy himself more time. But do I feel that he was just lying to buy himself more time, or if he was throwing actual facts? Because supposedly from the last that I read about this Nazi bill, it was like they buried it. Basically, like Allied forces were approaching and they blew up the bunker that it was in, and it kind of got buried within, the ground somewhere over in Germany, because they didn't want the Americans to get their hands on it. Yeah. But, let's see. So looking at Rational Wiki, Hitler supposedly ordered the device be taken to South America on a U-boat at the end of World War II or Antarctica. Or, it's theorized, the Americans captured it, moved it to the USA, where it was used to power a UFO. Lots of interesting theories there. I mean, I definitely think that if it had the ability to warp time and space, we wouldn't have told anybody.
No, for sure, man. It's weird. It's almost like a more modern day Ark of the Covenant. Like the Ark of the Covenant was this big thing nobody really understood, and then one day it just disappears.
Oh,
People still search for it now. It's kind of like that.
Going back to Nick Cook, he's a British journalist who latched on to Wazowski's story and retold it in his 2002 book, The Hunt for 0 Point, suggesting that it was anecdotal evidence that the United States government had been working on Nazi anti-gravity technology in secret for the last 50 years. Fringe UFO conspiracy theory cranks such as Joseph P. Farrell quickly joined the party. They claim that the bell supposedly emitted radiation that killed 60 Nazi scientists and could be used to see into the past. Hitler supposedly ordered the device, as we said, to be taken to South America or Antarctica. So who knows? Some think it's hidden in Area 51. But I don't know, man. So just overall, what are your overall thoughts on the Nazi bell?
Well, for one thing, talking about Hitler wanting to relocate it should the war not go his way, I definitely think a guy like him in his position of power is not going to have like an exit strategy. You know what I'm saying?
You don't think he had one?
No, that's why.
You don't think you make it to that point without having some kind of.
Right. So I think very plausible he faked his suicide and ended up Argentina, Antarctica, one of these kind of places. And if you had a device like that, I think you definitely don't just leave it sitting. You definitely take it with you. So I think that's very very plausible. And with Operation Paperclip, America brought over 1,600 German scientists, engineers, technicians. So even if they didn't get the physical bell, I think it's very possible that they got the people with the knowledge to, continue developing the technology, maybe create a version of it right here in America. So.
Well, I've always found the UFO thing interesting because, and again, it's rumors. I mean, I wasn't at World War II. You weren't at World War II. I mean, all we know is what we're told. But I don't know, like the rational part of me wants to say things like this are just folklore. That's all it is. But then I want to say, well, if we thought that about some folklore has been found to be very true. Mm-hmm. But you're right. As far as the exit strategy, I mean, Hitler supposedly committed suicide, then they burned his body.
Yeah.
And then just left it and it was found. And no, I don't, that just to me doesn't sound at all. But, Hitler could have died. I mean, for sure. But I mean, there's always just with all of the things surrounding it, it definitely leads me to think that he might have faked his death. Yeah. And I mean, we're so ready. And I mean, basically at that point, Berlin fell and it was just like, all right, so the Germans are basically done. Mm-hmm. we're done. So, it's kind of like you and I were talking off mic about like grievances with parts of the justice system, about how sometimes when there's a murder, the powers to be sometimes are just more concerned with having a body in a cell to pin it on. And I say pin, I don't mean frame, but just to say you did it, locked up, case closed, move on to the next. Almost like criminal justice is like a fast food line at McDonald's, and you're just trying to hurry people along to keep things going. And, so kind of in that same fashion, I mean, it was over. So people needed a swift close to the chapter. So, hey, we'll buy it. That's Hitler. He's dead. Even if he's not here. So whatever. Hitler's dead. We found his charred body. He committed suicide. The good guys win.
Yeah.
Because we always want that final justice. Like, I mean, the world wouldn't have been satisfied with, we beat Germany, but we don't know where Hitler is.
Yeah, and I mean, who's to say there weren't like elements in our own military that covered it up and maybe helped him escape? It's kind of like Hydra infiltrating S.H.I.E.L.D. A lot of people think that Operation Paperclip and all these Nazi scientists that were brought over, it's almost like a breakaway government within our government. I mean, there was Nazi influences and there were these scientists that were basically just brought over, and they're sharing their technology with our military and forming NASA and all this stuff, but they also are kind of pursuing their own agenda. There's murky waters for sure.
Yeah, well, if there's one thing we know about our American government is that it's not always 100% transparent or honest.
No.
So while it's easy to just write off and absolutely nothing like that would happen, then again, I mean, how would you know?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely criminal elements within our government. I mean, they've caught CIA agents running like massive cocaine operations, flying coke out of South American stuff. I mean, just because the government as a whole isn't corrupt, I mean, there's definitely corrupt elements within it.
Oh, yeah. That's what people get it mixed up when you say that there could be corruption in the American government. It's not saying every facet of it is corrupt. It's saying that there are so many moving parts to this machine that we call, the U.S. government that it's definitely could be some rust on a few of the cogs, if you know what I'm saying. Oh, yeah. But as far as this, I've always wondered. So the UFOs. I mean, according to some accounts, that they have found like these very UFO-like vehicles, aircraft that the Germans were working on. And it almost makes you wonder if maybe extraterrestrials really aren't extraterrestrials. What we saw was especially accounts of UFOs in the United States, if perhaps it wasn't just the government had gotten a hold of some of these German plans and created their own UFOs, these disc-shaped, very, like traditional, what you think of when you think of a UFO. And what we're seeing aren't aliens. It's us playing with technology that we got from the Nazis. Because for one thing we know, German engineering is second to very few. You know what I mean? Their engineering programs, I mean, they helped us build the A-bomb. I mean, they know their stuff. So it stands to reason that they probably, if anybody was going to create these UFO-typed vehicles, it would be them.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I often wonder about that, And I mean, Area 51. I mean, who's to say maybe there weren't actual extraterrestrials? Perhaps we were just testing and some pilots got killed playing around with technology we weren't ready to let the world know that we had then.
Yeah, it kind of makes sense that just some U.S. airmen crashed this experimental technology more so than, extraterrestrials capable of coming here from who knows how far away, just get to Earth and, screw up and end up crashing in the desert.
Oh, yeah.
But then again, who knows?
What I'm seeing on the Wikipedia page for Nazi UFOs, and I quote, in UFOlogy, conspiracy theory, science fiction, and comic book stories, claims or stories have circulated linking UFOs to Nazi Germany. The German UFO theories describe supposedly successful attempts to develop advanced aircraft or spacecraft prior to and during World War II, and further assert the post-war survival of these craft in secret underground bases in Antarctica. So lots of Nazi Antarctica connections I've been hearing about through the years. South America or the United States, along with their creators. According to these theories and fictional stories, various potential code names or subclassifications of Nazi UFO craft, such as, you know what, I can't pronounce hardly anything.
Yeah.
Hunderflugzeug, Führerball, Discus, Hannebu, Hanneberg. I just feel like I'm butchering the German language, so I apologize. No disrespect to any German listeners, but I don't know. It's so like the rational part of my brain just wants to write all that off and be like, no, it's not. Life's not quite that interesting. You know, they weren't that advanced. Yada yada yada. But I don't know. Maybe they were.
Yeah.
I mean, we know that there's tons of cover up with things like this, you know, especially World War II. There's still so much we probably will never know.
Oh, yeah, man, for sure. You didn't have, like, WikiLeaks back then, so it was a little, even if you did uncover something, it was really hard to actually get the information to the people.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. As far as the Die Glocke, I know we were originally going to talk just about the Nazi Bale, but you know, really we've kind of delved into. It's really just this podcast is just turned into talking about Nazi secrets or rumored Nazi secrets. But I'm not sure what I think on it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, man. I mean, it definitely could just be over-exaggerated stuff they were up to, and then again, it could be something that we grabbed a hold of, and who knows what American, military did with it.
Well, the Nazi scientists basically trying to stop his execution or stall it by going, wait. Did I tell you about the time-traveling bell we created?
Right.
I mean, it definitely seems plausible, but that was just something he threw out there trying to, save himself a little bit, give himself a little bit more time. But then again, that's also an easy way to write off something. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Totally.
I just feel like life is so confusing.
It is, man.
I mean, so many times you think something just sounds too wild to be real, and then they discover that it's actually based on fact or that it is exactly as you had heard it was, and then sometimes it just turns out to be a bunch of BS. But
yeah,
I mean, like I said, we know the Germans were larger than life with their engineering. I mean, like I said, that Gustav, the giant, which whenever I say Gustav, I think of the giant crocodile over in like Africa that's eaten like 300 people. But when Gustav was this giant rail cannon, I mean, if you've never seen that, you should Google it. I mean, it's just unbelievable. Then Google Hitler's proposed super tanks. These things were massive, man. I mean, I'm talking they housed multiple other little tanks that would come out of it.
wow.
And, I mean, it would just plow through a town like it was nothing. I mean, you could level a town with one of the shells, I'm sure, or at least, a small village or town.
Jeez.
So we know they dreamed larger than life in terms of their weapons. So I definitely think it stands to reason that if these things were possible, the Germans would have definitely been on to it.
Yeah, man, I think you're right about that.
And you're a pretty strong, well, I mean, I don't ever like to put words in your mouth. I'm not going to say what you do or don't believe in, but you seem, through the many years I've podcasted with you, it seems that you're pretty enamored with the idea of something going on in the Antarctic. I guess is the way to say it.
I think there's a lot we don't know. I mean, obviously there's a lot we don't know about the Antarctic. It's so hard to explore, but no, man, I think there's secrets up there that go back to our ancient origins. I definitely think the Nazis were doing stuff up there, and I don't know. I think it's very, and I'm not going to get into the whole flat Earth thing with what they think about Antarctica, but yeah, man, I think it's very interesting that like there's a worldwide treaty that forbids any kind of exploration of Antarctica. I don't know, man. The Antarctic Treaty, just to, that's something interesting to look into.
What is it called?
The Antarctic Treaty.
And that's a real thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty much. I mean, it's very, very hard to get any kind of permission to go to Antarctica, plan an expedition. It's they're protecting something up there. That's for sure.
It is very interesting when you consider the Antarctica is not a country, and it has no government, no indigenous population. It's just kind of set aside as a scientific preserve. And no kidding, man. I had heard rumors that Trump was sending some people or an expedition to Antarctica.
Oh, yeah.
But, like, I'm Googling it trying to find info on that, and I'm kind of having trouble. But what I do see right here is the Antarctic Treaty, which came into force in 1961, enshrines the ideal of intellectual exchange and, like, protects Antarctica.
Yeah, and I mean, there's accounts of all kinds of world leaders going up there, man. Popes, I think Obama had been up there at some point. A lot of people think that that's kind of like the... if society falls or whatever, that's kind of like the last bastion. That's the safe hold that these world leaders and international elites are gonna flee to. It's kind of like a new Eden, so to speak. And a lot of people think that the origin of humanity started in Antarctica, just thousands of years ago when it was a paradise, and changes over the years, just turned it into an icy place. I don't know, man. Another interesting thing, check out what Admiral Byrd had to say about Antarctica and his exploration up there.
It's interesting to note, too, that travel to Antarctica, according to newshub.com, travel to Antarctica is strictly controlled under the Antarctic Treaty, which aims to protect the continent for peace and scientific research. The 53 countries under the treaty include, like, New Zealand, us and more. They apply to conduct operations. You have to apply to go there. Mm-hmm. The majority of work is carried out by the military or contractors.
Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, man, Admiral Byrd, there's like a clip of him on some old 50s talk show or something, just talking about how there's a continent beyond Antarctica that's habitable, that's like rich in resources, just like North America. And like I said, I may be misquoting him a little bit, but yeah, it's definitely something interesting to look into, all the stuff Admiral Byrd had to say about his encounters with Antarctica. So,
well, and it's like, also it's interesting that there are currently 70 permanent research stations scattered across the continent of Antarctica, which represent 29 countries from every continent on Earth. Huh. That's it's very. I didn't realize how restricted Antarctica was.
Oh yeah, man. We definitely won't be doing any remote podcasts from up there. That's for sure.
Well, damn.
Yeah, I know. That'd be a pretty cool live stream.
Very, very. I mean, I was looking at why planes don't fly over. One of the questions on Google is why can't planes fly over Antarctica? And they're not saying they can't. They just say that there's really no reason to, I guess. Very interesting. I don't know. Can I go to Antarctica? Yes, you can visit Antarctica. Although Antarctica is the most remote continent on Earth, more than 1,000 from the nearest neighboring continent, you can actually visit it and enjoy the voyage at your own pace and preference. And so you can plan trips there per se, but
I think it's very. I mean, they pretty much tell you where you can go. Though it's not just like
so, kind of like visiting North Korea. Like you only can see what they want you to see.
It's very restricted. Who knows if they even take you to Antarctica?
What an interesting thought. So, listener, I propose to you, because, again, we're a podcast. We love discussing stuff. We're not authorities on anything, and we're not going to be able to ever really give you definite answers on anything. But what do you think about all of this? What do you think about Antarctica? What do you think about the Nazi Bale? What do you think about Nazi superweapons, which now are so recognized as hoaxes that if you look up Die Glocke on Wikipedia, beside the name, it says in parentheses, hoax.
Yeah.
Do you think that that's to throw us off? Do you think that, let us know if you know more. Again, we say this with all of our Weird Wednesday podcasts. If you know something that can add to the conversation, please. We're happy to revisit stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
So I'll definitely be reading up more on this.
The surface, on this one.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But check out our channel. We do a lot of our main bread and butters. We do talk about The Walking Dead. We have Walking Dead What Ifs every Monday, and then we do like live podcasts after each episode. And I don't know. The channel's growing. There's going to be some changes coming. So make sure to hit that subscribe button because, A, it don't cost you anything. So why not subscribe? And even if you didn't really love this one, you stuck around this far into it, you obviously couldn't have hated it too terribly. So maybe one day we'll turn out something that you like.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, my allergies are giving me such
Oh man,
such a
the
bother
tables
today.
have turned for once.
I know,
You're
man.
congested, and I'm feeling all right.
My allergies are kicking my ass. I don't know why. Well, I did cut the grass the other day. I'm starting to notice every time I cut the grass, man, I'm starting to. But anyways, also, if you did enjoy the podcast and you want to hear more, don't forget to check out our Patreon. For as little as $1 a month, you get 8 extra podcasts per month, which could be about anything. I mean, we do more free-form podcasts on that start off maybe just asking JP what he's been up to, and the conversation has been known to go to everything to science fiction, to pop culture, to conspiracy, to history. I mean, it just goes all over the place. So check that out. It's only $1 a month. There's no commitment, and if you don't like it, you can cancel it. So we'll see you soon. I'm Justin.
I'm JP.
And we're the Podcasting Dead.